So today I want to review HumancentIPAD. And before I start, I have a friend Dash Reacts who reviews episodes of South Park on YouTube, and he does a really good reaction. And also, he's very fluent in Japanese. So when you hear "Let's Find Love," he can translate the lyrics, and then also when you see things like Japanese girls puking on each other and overlogging, he can kind of explain to you guys, what's being said, and it's actually kind of more funnier. The other thing that I want to say about overlogging is that it does talk about a lot of themes in the episode, because there's two stories in it. First is the famous story, which is Kyle not reading his agreement, and then he gets the human centipad treatment, and then also Cartman being a spoiled brat, where he's saying that his mother fucks him in Best Buy and fucks him over. So it's a play on words. Fuck over means screw somebody over, cheat them out of what they feel like they deserve with actual, sex with somebody. So, there's people who think Leanne Cartman is a child molester when actually she isn't. And I do want to talk about the themes of this episode. First of all, the whole thing about Cartman saying that he got fucked by his mother, that's a theme of what I think like iPads and a lot of this new technology represents. It's for usually the people who get it are people who have children that they like to spoil, and those kids are not spoiled brats. And then there are the Cartmans that are spoiled brats. Or sometimes people do it for people who, or sometimes people will donate a new phone or whatever to somebody who plays the victim, whether that's intentional or unintentional. Like you see in the Moore show that there's some people that are burn victims or someone threw acid on their face and they're having a hard time kind of like coping with the fact that their body's deformed. So that's an example of an intentional victim. There are people who do lie about being raped, or there's people that just want lots of charity, or there's people who panhandle or pretend to be poor or lie, and then people just feel sorry for them and get them something like a gift or something really, really expensive to feel good about themselves. Or sometimes you can say to yourself, you look at somebody like Mr. Beast, that he gives random strangers lots of money, lots of houses, the latest like technology, whatever, and they can all be lying to him and say, you know what, because you're a nice guy, you want to look nice on YouTube, I'm gonna hustle you and make up a story so I can get more stuff that I want. Like I live with my brother. My brother works a really good job. And he and I both have mental health issues. So I can easily lie to Mr. Beast and say, you know what, we want a bigger apartment. And I can come up with this sappy sob story. So Mr. Beast is like all with tears in his eyes. And he's like, you know what, since I'm a multimillionaire and I do a lot of fundraising, I can lie to Mr. Beast and get like, a house in Texas like my brother always wanted. Or like a house in a nicer part of Connecticut. And then a nice car to go to work, and whatever. So it's easy to support technology and commercialize technology by just saying, you know what, I'm a spoiled brat, I'm a pity case, and if a rich person buys me this, or people get together and buys me this and they put it online, it's a way of marketing. And then there's people like Cartman who are manipulative that will do whatever they want to get what they want, even if it means lying about being fucked, because over time he should have easily known that people were getting mixed up, and he should just say, screwed over or cheated out what I think I deserve, versus actually being raped by his mother. So that's the first part of it. The next part of it is what happens to Cartman at the end, because it is kind of a religious thing that he gets struck by lightning for cursing at God. So sometimes it may just be that, no matter what you do to kind of get what you want, usually if you do it by bad means, sometimes there is karma, sometimes there isn't karma. So, he loses the human centipad, he curses at God, he gets struck by lightning, and fortunately for him, his mother still loves him to be in the hospital while he's kind of like in pain from getting struck by lightning. So it is that sense of, even if you try to manipulate people, or you don't get what you want from your parents, and you kind of lie and you cheat and you manipulate and sell sob stories, sometimes, not all the time, you eventually get what's coming to you. but that's always on a frequency. I mean, that's always on a probability because you can't always you can't always be punished for your actions, and you can't always be get away with punishment. It's a crapshoot because that's just how the universe works. The other side of this episode is what happens to Kyle. He doesn't read his documents, and this is actually kind of a parody because everybody who's seen a Apple document or documents online, they're usually pages long in small text, and you want to get to what you want to get to. So actually, you don't read what's being said. So sometimes what happens is you may be signing away your individual freedoms. So Kyle's forced to do a surgery, and it doesn't work out for him, and he has to learn over time by getting screwed over that that doesn't work out for him. And then the next theme about it is two ones that the whole idea of the HumancentIPAD is based on the movie HumancentIPAD, where people are sewn together and one person shits and then it goes into another person's body, into another person's body. So they're saying people are sharing their shit, sharing their information, their videos, like I'm sharing my video as an allegory for actual real shit. And again, it's kind of like as a psychologist once said, that sometimes social media and all that is for people who have narcissism or insecurity and just want attention. So you're actually kind of feeding into you're really just feeding into people's egos. And then also people do talk about Apple and other products that are made with cobalt. So there's Africans mining for cobalt. It's made in China and other countries where they treat their laborers pretty badly. And sometimes you see videos of people wearing masks and having big gloves and having to work with dangerous chemicals. And anything happens to them or they do it for a long time and they're sick and whatever, the boss is just going to fire them instead of just saying, okay, you worked with these chemicals or whatever, you need to to be taken care of when you're done. So ultimately, the HumancentIPAD is a representation for how some human beings are suffered to create something great, and we don't really focus on that. We care about the final product, but not the blood, sweat, tears, and bone and skin and bones that went into it. You look at the Trans-Siberian Railroad, a great example. Like they say that during the Soviet Union that to build that railroad, they worked people to death, and actually there's some trains where you're actually going over heaps and heaps of dead bodies that are skeletons. Like they call some of it the ride of bones or the trail of bones because there's so many dead bodies and skeletons underneath it if you did some digging. So it kind of talks about how human advancement also can make people suffer. And then there's people like Steve Jobs, and the HumancentIPAD is just a really dumb creation, but everybody treats it like it's great. So there's a sense of always how we have a new iPhone every single year, where it's either a different resolution, it's a different lens, it's a different, it's a faster processor. So it's not really that much of an advancement. It's just the same thing, just a little bit better. It's almost like, if I got a car and it goes, 70 miles an hour, the next one goes to 100. The year after that one, the next one goes to 200 miles an hour. And then the year after that, there's LED options. The year after that, there's semiconductors, so you can play music and whatever. Then the year after that, there's then there's other versions and other things like that. So just because you're consistently upgrading doesn't mean that your invention is actually better. It just means that you're just doing a shitty upgrade just to kind of make more money out of people. So, because you look at the iPhones, this is the iPhone 13 that I'm using to film this video. So, it's better than an iPhone 7, but I don't need an iPhone. This is iPhone 12 Plus, but I don't need an iPhone 13. I don't need an iPhone 14, maybe an iPhone 15 I'll get. But you don't always need to kind of upgrade or be I'm in the future just because I upgraded something. So, it's definitely a very interesting episode. And I also like that Dash Reacts reviews these episodes of South Park, because sometimes, it just feels kind of refreshing to see, somebody review it, do their own take. And even if I'm watching some of his episodes and reviewing it, I am enjoying myself. So, I'm happy revisiting these old episodes. And also, you know, I watched a lot of these episodes at a time that I wasn't doing YouTube videos, but it's always good to do some review and analysis. So, you know, I'm happy with this episode. I think this is one of the best ones. One issue I had with this episode is that when it came out, they showed behind the scenes of, this was one of the behind the scenes episodes, like how do we make South Park episodes. So when this first came out, this episode was definitely overplayed. Like at least like maybe once or twice a week you would be seeing this episode. And they replay a lot of South Park episodes, but sometimes you have to kind of just take episodes like this and say maybe once a month, not just 1 or 2 times a week, because it actually becomes a little too you know, just repetitive and whatever. So I just think that, you know, I do hope that with that if they ever have other episodes like this that I think are good, well made, very cerebral, that they don't do something like overplay these, because it can kind of like tarnish something really great. But this is one of the best episodes of South Park.